Hello everyone, welcome to Fictionology. This is Bardikens, and I'm here by myself today. Today we're going to take a look at Crusader Kings 3, the newest grand strategy game by Paradox. And I have a little bit of a history with Crusader Kings. I played well over 600 hours in Crusader Kings 2. It's one of my favorite games of all time. And basically for this video I'm just going to kind of look at an introduction to the game. So what we're going to do is we're going to start a new game here, and I always prefer to start in 867, although there are different time periods and different heroes that are highlighted with their own stories and things, such as Bjorn Ironside here. The good thing about Paradox grand strategy games, and Crusader Kings specifically, is that you can click that button there, and we should be able to, after it loads, basically play anybody that we want to on the map. That could be kingdoms, empires, or you can go within the empires and play as vassals, such as playing as a duchy or a county inside of kingdoms, empires, and duchies that already exist. So your start options are almost limitless, limited only by geography, really. And right now you can't play as merchant republics such as Venice, which I'm sure they'll add later because it was in Crusader Kings 2, so I think it'll be here eventually. So basically, how is Crusader Kings different from something like Total War? And I got my start with strategy games way back in real-time strategies, Warcraft, stuff like that, StarCraft, but Total War was my first kind of, I'd say, grand strategy in that it was on a grand scale, right? But it's turn-based. Total War is turn-based, first of all, right? And also the focus is more on the individual battles, taking territories, and then dealing with rebellions that arise that are sort of secondary to the actual battles and having properly managed resources and things. Crusader Kings is a little bit different. There are still battles, but the focus is more on the politics, the story. In the time period of Crusader Kings, the Middle Ages is perfect for this sort of political setting, because in this game you take a dynasty, right, a family, and you try to make it as big or as powerful as you want it. And you have to go against systems that are in place in the game, from political intrigue, assassination, to inheritance, which is very demanding and takes effort. And things don't always go your way. So you may play the game 6 times as the Count of, or Chieftain of Desmond here, but you may lose 5 out of those 6 times, and you may form the Empire of Britannia on one of the playthroughs, and then have a succession that's so bad that it splits your empire, and rebellion takes hold 400 years into the game, and you lose everything. But it's about the story, right? The story that you can create with your family. The story that you create. So you get into situations where you not only fight wars, but you also have events that you have to select decisions on. And so I think the first dozen or so playthroughs of this game is very, very... it's where you'll get the most enjoyment out of the unknown, because you'll see these events. You won't know what the answers lead to, and you can get some really crazy, wacky, zany things. So first of all, we're just going to go ahead and choose someone here. Let's see. Ireland is usually traditionally the beginner's play area, because it has a very easy succession, even here, that's very easy to play with. Normal succession is what's called Confederate partition, so all of your sons divide evenly the land. And the Irish have the ability to use what's called tanistry, so you can vote on, generally the people in power can vote on someone from your family. So it could be your extended family, but it's still your family, so it still counts. You will play as that character as you take over it, and they inherit your lands, or the lion's share of your lands, and then the rest go to your children as normal. So that is why Ireland is kind of easy to start with. And so let's go ahead and, just for this playthrough, let's go ahead and attempt. We may fail. It's possible to fail within the first 5 or 10 years every single time. So let's go with an attempt as playing as Desmond here. As far as game rules, if you look over here on the right pane, you'll see here that we have tribal. So tribal's a little bit different. You can start out as tribal or feudal right now. Eventually, I'm sure they'll add more. Tribal has one tribe on plots of land, and you see these little dotted lines. If you were feudal, you'd be able to build holdings on these lines, but tribes are unable to do that. Another big thing is that they use prestige instead of money for most of their things, so that's something to keep in mind. Tribal rulers can also raid, whereas, as far as I know, most feudal ones cannot. There may be some exceptions here or there, based on religion or something like that. But yeah, and other than that, we have the difficulty here. There's easy, or very easy, easy, and normal, excuse me. I'm not sure. I think the best way to do it is just to jump in on normal, unless you just want to play through a story yourself. And then you can swap up the game modes here, or the game rules individually. You can change all of these different rules. It's just... I'm not going to go into them all, but you can set the end date. You can set, when the Mongols are going to invade, and, just different things you can set. But I like to play Iron Man mode, which means you can't save scum, basically. I mean, there's probably still ways to do it, but this also enables achievements, I believe. Yeah, that's right. So I usually play in Iron Man mode because it's kind of a story you tell, right? So if you lose, you lose. No big deal. You just start over. And of course, you can open it for multiplayer, but I'm pretty sure right now Iron Man is not available in multiplayer. I'm not sure they ever intend to bring that, but I could be wrong. Okay, so let's just go ahead and make sure Iron Man is enabled. We're going to go ahead and press play, and then basically all I'm going to do in this one is we're going to walk through the menus and play a couple of years of normal gameplay. Alright, so let's go ahead and look at what we have here. Up here are your balloons, and basically what these balloons do is they tell you things that are important. You have no lifestyle chosen. Your heir is unmarried. That's kind of important, right? You need to produce more of your family. And you are not married. Well, he's 47. He already has a son. So you may get married or you may not. There is a benefit to having a spouse. We'll talk about that later. And then there's also issues that you have. This is a helpful little screen that tells you that, hey, you can declare war on some people because of some sort of casus belli you have, which is just a legal declaration of war. Hey, you have too few champions, which are basically knights in your system. They lead your armies and stuff. Oh no, you're not endorsed by your bishop. So that's important because you get a penalty if you aren't endorsed by your bishop. Oh, well, yeah, so you gain no levies and taxes from church holdings, which eventually become kind of important sometimes. Too few spouses, so I'm allowed to have multiple secondary spouses or I'll lose piety. Multiple secondary spouses can also be dangerous because of the inheritance, right, that we were talking about. If you have 20 sons and 20 pieces of land, who knows which pieces of land are going where, other than your main capital, which always goes to your direct heir, your direct successor. And this, over time, that can change, but we'll get into that. Up here, we have a simple resource bar. This is your monthly gold income, which can be changed by holding more domains, more towns, and of course building buildings on the towns that you already own. Secondary is prestige, which is like how prestigious you are, right? You win battles, you conquer territories, you do events like hunting, and you can get prestige. I mentioned that the Irish tribes are, tribal, and so prestige is very important because it controls a lot of what you do as a tribe until you upgrade to feudalism later down the road. Piety is religious, right? So you can go on pilgrimages to increase that. It's usually used for things like holy wars or reforming your faith, not your face. Reforming your faith usually costs quite a lot of piety. And then finally, you have renown. Renown is how known your dynasty is around the world. And building up dynasty points will allow you to unlock abilities or passive traits for your whole family. And so it can be kind of important later down the road. This is the total number of soldiers you have in your army. And this includes levies, which are the peasant armies, as well as men-at-arms, which are trained soldiers, and of course your champions as well. And then of course right here is your domain. Right now I have 1 out of 4 holdings. I can own 4 holdings before I take penalties. Anything over 4, and then my troop count suffers and my tax count suffers. It's a penalty so that you don't hold everything yourself. You have to pass on some to vassals. I'm sure there's ways around that, but I don't really power game like that. I just kind of like to play the story. And nothing against people who do, because I've seen people do world dominations and things like that. So no problem there. I'm just not the guy that does that. This simply gives you an outliner. You can pin characters, look at raised armies, and quickly go to your domains. I tend to forget about it. Can be important. The first tab here is your realm. This is where you're going to see all of your domains. And you see there's empty holdings that you can't do anything with unless you are feudal. And then you could build churches or other towns or whatever on them, or castles. Vassals will show all of your vassals and your limit of vassals. If you're a count, you generally can only have a few. Oh no, you can't have any vassals. You have to own everything. If you're a duchy, you could have a few. And if you're a kingdom more and then an empire, you can have quite a lot of vassals. Vassal opinion, right? And then dread. Dread is just how much they fear you. Most people that fear you will not join in rebellions and things like that. And of course here is also where you can change your tribal and then feudal authorities, or crown authority I believe it's called in the feudal age. And it just gives you different things. You can imprison people, you can rip up people's land for free, and then of course you can settle and become feudal. That's what you have to do as a tribe to become feudal. You have to go to absolute tribal authority. You have to be of a reformed religion, such as Christianity, which we have here. And then you can move up when you're ready. There's a lot of benefits of doing that, but also it can be very dangerous at the time because you move from using prestige to gold. So you have to be very careful. And then finally, in the Realm tab, we have succession. For succession, you can see what current succession law is in effect. And right now it's Confederate partition. Pretty much everyone starts off with this except for like the Byzantine Empire, which starts out primogeniture. And Confederate partition means, your titles will be divided equally between your children. Including if you have 2 kingdom titles, or one kingdom title and another kingdom title that can be created, one of your sons may split and create a kingdom title that is not under your control and have their own kingdom. So it penalizes you a little bit for having a lot of sons or a lot of heirs. So it's it's something you have to manage. In the beginning, it's not too bad. In the early game, before you create an empire, if you start conquering multiple kingdoms, it can be a headache. And then late game, once you created an empire, it's not as bad because you will always keep your kingdom. And then eventually you'll be able to change this to more something that suits your taste more. And of course you can also change the preference from male to equal to female and all that, depending on your culture and religion. Let's see, that's basically all there. Military tab. This is an important tab. This is where you can create your men-at-arms. You can see your levies again. Levies are peasant soldiers. Champions are your knights. And men-at-arms cost prestige or gold, depending on if you are tribal or feudal. And they give you trained professional troops. This used to be retinue in Crusader Kings 2, but now they do it, and it's called man-at-arms. These are important because armies can play paper, rock, scissors, especially smaller armies can play paper, rock, scissors. Each one of these counters another man-at-arm type. And if you have you can have a slightly smaller army that is much more professional and well-trained, and that's denoted by this little symbol here. It starts with 1 dot, 2 dots, and then it goes into sort of like I don't want to call it a star, but sort of like a golden something, I don't know. And that just shows how professional the army is. 1 and 2 diamonds generally isn't the greatest. So if you fight with my army size, if I fought a guy who had 100 men at arms, which is just one rank of this, and they were rank 3 or 4, they might win. They might easily win. It's just a game of paper, rock, scissors sometimes. So it's something to keep in mind. And you can raise all of your armies. You can raise them as raiders if you're tribal or have raiding as part of your religion and stuff. And then you can disband any raised armies. You can also hire mercenaries here. Cost gold. They last for 3 years. It's better this time around. In Crusader Kings 2, they impacted your monthly monetary gain or loss because they cost a lot per month. In Crusader Kings 3, they are on like a 3-year contract once you hire them for this price, and then you can re-up it, or you can let them go away after 3 years. So it's great. I think it's wonderful, and it doesn't save you as much as you might like, unless you're the Byzantines maybe. Let's see here. And also, eventually you can found holy orders in certain areas. They hold a piece of your land, and then they basically are like free mercenaries if you're attacking or being attacked by someone of a different religion. So that's all that is. And then there's some other things here. You can see your maintenance, and you can an important thing is setting rally points. What rally points do is you can raise your army at them. So you can set them anywhere in your land, and you at any point can raise all local raiders or local armies at this location. It's a great way to respond to rebellions, to respond to wars, anything. It's wonderful. You need to use them. And you can move them around. The only one that's set, oh no, you can move this one too. I always leave the red one as on my capital as default. I don't know why. Next up, important, is the council. I said that a spouse is important because a spouse goes here as part of your council, sort of, and they can benefit you by giving you extra traits. You have your bishop here, who will give you taxes and things and levies from his holdings. You'll have a chancellor who can do things such as foreign affairs, increase vassal opinion, integrate titles that you take into your empire. The steward helps you gather taxes or increase development, which is for feudalism and stuff like that, and upgrading buildings and everything. And then of course you can change cultures. The bishop also helps you change religions, and as well as fabricate claims on counties you don't have a claim on. Let's see, Marshal, he's a warrior. He'll help you lock down control in counties that are rebellious or in new counties that are captured that aren't under your thumb, really. And then the spy master is really super important because they help you find secrets. They help you if you're trying to assassinate people, and they help keep you from being assassinated yourself. Really, really important. All of these we can kind of go into deeper detail on, but that's just a quick overview of the court. Intrigue system, you can use secrets on people to gain hooks, and you can use hooks to get people to do favors for you. You can change their taxes, tell them to leave, imprison them, whatever. So that's why getting secrets is important, and having your spy master is important. Factions, once you become a big group, you'll have rebellions, people trying to be independent and everything, and they'll show here. And as long as they're smaller than your army, they can't fire their rebellion unless they are a peasant rebellion, which is just an automatic thing. Decisions, sometimes you'll have special decisions like to go on a pilgrimage. This increases piety, of course. Piety. Hunting increases prestige, and you can do it every now and then. Hosting feasts can be good and sometimes bad, whatever. Vow of poverty. You can do different things here. And then this is also where you adopt feudalism. And then finally, we're going to look at the character screen. This is where you see your attributes, or skill points, I guess they call them. And these do different things. Diplomacy is how much people like you. Martial determines like how good you are at fighting, but also your soldiers, your levies. Stewardship is how much domain you can have, as well as how much taxes you can pull in. Intrigue improves your ability to assassinate, to find secrets, things like that. And of course, learning improves your ability not only to teach people, but also to learn new technologies, which are here, culture technologies. I believe, it helps with piety as well, because one of the branches helps with piety. So yes, that's that. And then of course here you can also see your different traits that you have, like forgiving, and these give various bonuses or malices. So they pop up with events, with education. They just happen, and sometimes you'll be a 30-year-old with no good ones. Sometimes you'll be 107 years old with every possible trait that's positive in the game. It really, you'll get something different every single time you play. Titles you own, titles you have claim on, things like that. And then of course your children and parents. Let's see, really quickly. Christianity, you can create a new faith if you have enough piety, and you can choose the individual traits. This is the same as if you want to reform a religion as well. It's hard to do. It takes a long time, but sometimes can be worth it. You can see people in your court, your vassals, your relationship. And this is what I was talking about. Oops. I went to the family tree, which is interesting, but not what we're looking at here. We want to look at legacies. Legacies is a talent tree that is based on your prestige, your renown. Sorry, not your prestige, but your dynasty's renown. And then once you get enough points, you can buy one of these, and they give different benefits, such as inheriting good congenital traits like genius or intelligent, and not inheriting bad ones, such as my mind is blanking. Any like flagellant. Well, flagellant isn't inheritable, but like clubfoot, right? Clubfoot. Things like that. Hair lip, which would be considered bad in this game. Let's see here. Did I forget anything? Basically, the culture traits determine what you can and can't do, from increasing man-at-arm regiment size to being able to change your inheritance laws, to being able to build economic or military buildings, or even siege, right? And this goes through ages, all the way up into, you can then, in the late medieval age, research things like primogeniture, which is really powerful. Yeah, or ultimogeniture if you really like that. That's what I used to play with in Crusader Kings 2, but I digress. Okay, so other than that, basically, if you need help, you can always look through the encyclopedia. They did a very good job this time around, giving advice and telling you what you should or shouldn't do. And as long as you have tutorial tips enabled, they'll actually pop up here in purple. And then, of course, you have an in-game menu where you can save, exit, or change your settings. And then finally, we have the speed. Down here, you can change the speed from slowest all the way up to fastest. You may want to stay at 3 or 4 when you're new, but I tend to play at fastest. You can also change your map to show different things, from kingdom titles, duchy titles, kingdom titles, empire titles, as well as faiths, cultures, houses, like family names, right? And more. So, but I tend to keep it on the realm title. Let's see here. And lastly, you have your talent trees as a person. And this is basically how you want to live your life. Now, based on how you were raised and what your child was, or what you were as a child in the game, you may have an affinity to one or more, but that doesn't mean you cannot do a different one. If you want to be martial on every single character, go martial. Your martial will get higher, your armies will get bigger, you'll get the benefits of that. Same with any of these. That said, learning is always a fun one, a good one, especially if you want to do things such as convert without having a penalty. Let's see. Yeah, see, convert without having a penalty, or things such as, oh, I'm looking for it. Oh, yes, being able to buy a claim on land rather than waiting for different things. And, of course, having different opinions and stuff like that. This will also help you increase your learning skill, which also decreases the time it takes to research culture texts. So that's basically just it. And if you go through whole of body tree, it's very possible that you could live to be 80, 90, or 100 years old, because not only do you have multiple things that give you health boosts, you'll also know when you're going to die. So it says when death of natural causes is 1 year away, you receive a warning. And so it works. And you first of all, you choose one of these, and it's just personal choice. And then you can go through the talent trees once you get enough experience. And experience just happens over time. So I think the best thing to do is we're going to just marry off our heir, who's 23 years old. He's a fool, apparently. And we're going to find a pretty good spouse for him with good traits. And there's what I mean by what would be considered a bad congenital trait, right? Club-footed, it gives a minus to your prowess, which is your personal fighting ability. Let's see here. Let's see if we can find anything here. We have someone who is comely, but also spindly. Oh, this is a good one. Hail gives some health, attraction opinion, some prowess. And you see me, I'm just scrolling through them. Oh, we have a genius here. Okay, genius is very, very good. And unfortunately, this is a lowborn, so he will take a prestige. But as you can see here, +5 to all skills, and it can be inherited. So what we want to do is we want to do this marriage, and hopefully hopefully the main heir will inherit the trait. So we just unpaused, and you saw that. I should have read that. That was my bad. But we're just going to go through some time here, and we're going to look at our neighbor and see his army size. Wow, he's got a pretty good size army. So I'm going to create a man-at-arm regiment, being careful to watch my per month man-at-arm, because they have a maintenance cost. And if my prestige is negative, then my man-at-arms will be pretty much useless. So we're going to see how much it takes here once they fully reinforce. Okay, so I think it's safe. I think it is safe. Bleeding out. I'm inspecting the barracks infirmary when a severely injured soldier is brought in. What was he injured from? I don't know. We haven't fought anybody yet. He is losing too much blood. Where's the physician? The healer is nowhere to be found. A chill runs down my spine. I might be this man's only hope. Suddenly, as if he stepped out of thin air, my guest Failby is at my side. Sorry, I can't pronounce these names. He rolls up his sleeves and looks at me. Hand me the tourniquet. Oh, I have a 100% chance to save the soldier. Let my friend do it. Or let him bleed. Okay. Yeah, no, we don't want the stress. Stress is something that can kill you, so we helped him out. Our patient screams and thrashes. Even though 3 grown men weigh him down, every step of the way is a battle. But my friend remains calm, and eventually a quiet focus settles over us. I am not sure how we managed, but in the end it seems like the soldier will live. That was an impressive feat. Me, my friend says with a tired smile. It was an honor to serve at your side. I could not have done it without you. And thus, the story of our friendship begins. So we have neighbors. It seems like our neighbors have about the same army size as we do. This is unfortunate, because it means we're pretty much stuck. So we're going to have an army size that's a little bit bigger. What we can do is try to make allies. So what I can do, you don't have a daughter. Do any of you have a daughter? Can arrange a marriage between the daughter and me. It's a betrothal, but it should still make him an ally. And so what happens is we can call him into battle. They don't always agree, but that's what we're gonna do. And I have to spend prestige, as you see here, to call him into battle. But he'll accept, or he'll receive a massive penalty. Basically, our goal here is to raise our armies, and we're going to just walk. The peasants in the earldom of Desmond are in a good mood. The harvest is bountiful. The roads are safe. And the village elders are telling nonsensical stories of cows producing honey-laden milk and geese laying golden eggs. They did such a good job. I will graciously accept their gift and send soldiers to collect more gifts. No, they need it more than I do. But I'm greedy, so I shouldn't do that. Let's just accept what they have. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stand on top of their capital, which is denoted by the glowing, is it a fire, I guess, and siege it. And I should win the war just by sieging their capital, because they only hold one piece of land. So we're just, once we hit 100 war score, what we're going to do is just click on the banner, and we're going to enforce our demands. And boom, we own 2 pieces of land. Now you'll notice that it has a low control, 0 in fact, and what that does is that reduces the levies and the taxes of the area, and they're also likely to rebel. So let's go ahead and disband our army. We're going to unpause for a second. Okay, so what happened here is one of our our chancellor made an enemy. He's so bad at his job, which it looks like it was my son, that he gave someone else a claim on our land for free. And that can happen. That's why you want to have people with good skill at their job. And it looks like my son does not have good skill. So there you go. There you go with that one. So we just took a new piece of land. There's not really much we can do. We could build something, but we don't have the gold. We could grant it to somebody, but we still can control more, and we don't have a duchy. So if we grant the land as a count, we will actually lose it. It'll split off into its own territory. And as you can see, holding 2 locations has increased our military significantly. So it's very important that we hold as many locations as possible early on, especially since there are Vikings across the ocean, and also in England and parts of Scotland and Ireland. So it's very important to come together as the High King of Ireland very early on. Haha. No, it's just good. It's a good thing to do. So, yep, what we're going to do is we're just going to do 1 or 2 more here. We're going to, first of all, we're going to have our marshal increase the control. So you just click on that. And what he'll do is it'll take him 14 years to raise this from 0 to 100. That's a long time, but that'll prevent them. They usually will give us more money, more men, and before we do this, it'll give us more money and more men, and less likely for peasants to revolt. So, lastly here, what just popped up here is my ally, who helped me, is attacking someone for the earldom of Ossory. I'm not sure which one that is. Oh, his neighbor. And he wants my help. If I decline, I will lose a lot of prestige. So what I'll do is I'm actually going to help him because he was so nice to me. Oh, and I clicked that without reading it again. Sorry, I'm so used to this. And we're going to go ahead and we got our first talent to choose. We've already finished this at the beginning, but we're going to go down this tree, the one I told you. This one makes you not as stressed. You can be celibate so you don't have more kids and you don't get drunk or anything, and you can reduce your chance of contracting illnesses, disease, and you're just healthy. So we're going to unlock celibacy. Not that we'll use it. We don't have a spouse, and our son already has heirs, 2 heirs. It's going to be dangerous. And my son just passed away because he was in the military. And I forgot to take him out. Don't let your son be a knight in this game if he's your only heir. So now we have two new heirs. One is 8 years old, so that's actually okay. If I live another 15 years, that means he'll be a younger king, which is good. It's a good thing. The longer your reign is, the easier it is for you to manage, but also the more painful inheritance can be if you have a lot of children. So I'm going to assign a new chancellor that has the highest diplomacy skill, and hopefully he doesn't mess it up for me. And we helped them win this battle, so we've pretty much done our part. We're going to fall back, and I'll disband my army. He should be able to win that war easily. And the very last thing we're going to do, I have come across a book describing how ancient monastics used trances and visions of ecstasy to commune with heaven. It seems a strange practice in our modern age, but perhaps there is something to be learned from them. I wonder what will happen if I imitate their practices. What do other texts say? Let's try. Let's see what happens. But the very last thing we're going to do is we're going to take another piece of land and then we'll call it. But let's see what this is. Locked in a room, strange powders on a burning fire provided overpowering heat, smoke, and smells as I tried to feel the things that lie beyond the world of senses. I do not know how much time passed before strange, indecipherable visions of light and pulsing sounds came to me. Was it my imagination or a glimpse of the divine? Is there even any way to tell? Did he just get high? I need to try again to see if anything is different. I think our guy's going to have a drug addiction soon. As I experiment more and more, I get a clearer and clearer grasp on things. It is as if I can now summon the presence I feel when I start my little ritual. It offers stability and comfort as the chaos of the world swirls around me. I can become a wise man. Let's do it. What does wise man give us? We got a little bit of stress, but we get +1 learning as well. Alright, fair enough, fair enough. So what we're going to do here is we're going to let our armies regenerate a little bit. Kathnia has been asking me for a pet rabbit for a long time, and I told him I would get one for him in 3 months if he displayed more focus in his studies. He simply waved my offer away, saying he did not really care about that anymore. Oh, fickle, content, or trusting. You know what, let's keep him fickle. What the fig? Oh. Alright. Let's see here. So I think we should be able to up our Light footmen one more time. We'll let them generate so we have a bigger army. I find myself fascinated by the human body, and this is what I mean, by the way, by events, and all the secrets that it still keeps from us. Questions of life and death are constantly on my mind. To read text on the topic is all well and good, but I cannot help but feel like I would learn a lot more from hands-on research. Oh, so should we study dead bodies, or should we just be pious and allow it to happen and just read books? Let's study dead bodies. I try to hold my breath as I sift through the tangled mess of slimy, swollen entrails sprouting from the corpse's belly, but it is to no avail. The putrid stench of decay slowly finds its way to my lungs, making me gag. Something then tears open, and a stream of viscous, yellowish ichor spills all over the operating table. What was that? I just need to find more bodies. No, let's give up there. And let's go ahead and let's try to declare war on Ormond here. Let's conquer their county. And we're going to try to get them in a battle. An advantageous battle. Okay, so we're going to take his capital then. He's not paying attention. He has an ally, apparently. And basically that was a race to see who could take whose capital first. And then we win the war. So let's go ahead and enforce demands, and boom. Now we own 3 pieces of land, and we're the head of the Irish culture. There you go. And that will allow us to select which tech we want to focus on, quote unquote. Levy reinforcement rates, development, fortification, military, jure, county, casus belli. So if we create the kingdom, we could conquer. But we're tribal, so we can declare war anyway, pretty much. So let's see here. I like levy reinforcement rate. Let's focus on that. You know, said it'll take 20-30 years for that to complete, and if we die before that time, it may take longer, depending on the development as well as the learning skill of our heir, who is probably not going to be a scholar and is also sick. Oh, great. It was wonderful. But anyways, we'll go ahead and stop there, and let's see here. Before I stop, yeah, so right now we can create the Duchy of Munster. And as soon as I get enough money, we should have ourselves a duchy and shouldn't have to worry about losing territory to heirs until we can have multiple kingdoms. So a duchy will allow us to have counts as vassals. So that'll be a good step. And all we need is 14 more gold. Very easy. Just have to wait out a little bit of time. And that will just help us move along. So yeah. Uh-oh. Looks like we have some Norse invaders up to our north as well, in a couple of different locations. So we'll go ahead and stop there, and we'll check out the story of Desmond on the next one. Thank you guys for playing Crusader Kings 3 with me, and if you'd like to see more of Crusader Kings 3, just let us know. And hopefully Gideon can join us on the next one, and so I can kind of show him how to play too, because he doesn't really play these kinds of games. These are more of my sort of thing. As usual, like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and feel free to leave feedback and comments and suggestions. We really appreciate it, guys. I'll see you on the next one, and yeah, have a great rest of your week. Thanks, guys.